Hey, small group leaders and coaches, welcome to our leadership group guide for the month of April 2025. Pastor Coach, we're already in April.
Yeah, man, time is flying by, yes.
And we are excited to help us lead this month's discussion. Before we get into that, we want to have a brief announcement to let you know that as a staff, we've been feeling a spiritual urge and a necessity for us as a church to really engage in prayer and fasting. And so here's how we're going to do it for the month of April. We are going to be asking and inviting everyone to a time of personal prayer every Wednesday. And so we won't be gathering for our normal prayer surges that we normally do during these times of prayer and fasting. But we want to invite everyone to do their own prayer and fasting on an individual level. But we want to help guide some of the prayer things that you are going to be praying for as a spiritual family. And so here's some points that you can find at prosci.org/prayer. We're going to be praying for the land acquisition. We're in a pivotal season.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity for us to potentially put in a bid to purchase the land. And we're going to pray for favor and wisdom that God will allow us to move from renters to owners in this season. So that's a great thing that we're believing for. We're also going to be believing for national and global expansion initiatives. We are sending off the Kolopos to our Tacoma plant on the West Coast. And so we are also believing for more mission things to happen in Samoa and Tonga. And so we're praying that God will open doors for these initiatives. We're also going to be praying for family and marriages. Those are always under attack. And so we want to be praying and believing for God's hedge of protection, and also the next generation, believing for a continued revival in our youth and our college and young adult ministries. And lastly, unity and revival in our nation. And so we want to invite all of us to join us as we pray and fast together every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. It's exciting.
It's going to be an exciting time. Now let's get into this leadership thought for the month of April. And so, Pastor Coach, when you think about what is a win for small group, there could be a lot of different wins, right? Oftentimes we think that if I had 12 people show up to small group, that's a huge win. And it is a win. But we believe that the win has to be bigger and has to be greater than just the amount of people attending the group. We believe that a small group win is multiplying new leaders, new groups, and new coaches. And so a healthy small group is constantly growing, reaching new people, raising new leaders, and multiplying new groups. And a healthy group would always reproduce more healthy groups. And so what we want to do is help guide us in that capacity to move towards multiplication. And we know that doesn't happen by accident.
That's so true. Yes.
Because our tendency in small group leading, and I'm guilty of this myself, is just to enjoy the fellowship with one another in small group, which is a great win. But if we stay there too long, what starts to happen in small group, Pastor Coach, when we stay there? What happens,
it stays there too long. We turn inward and we forget about the mission of why we meet as small groups. It's good to have the fellowship and community, but we also have to live the Great Commission.
So this month's guide is basically going to lead us to doing a kind of a workshop. We're going to assess where all of our small groups are at. We're going to take time to really think through the condition and the current status of our groups. And so this is going to be more like a workshop. And so we want to encourage all of our leadership groups to have like pen and paper ready so that you can start jotting down some ideas. It's going to be a collaborative effort, but we want to guide you into this workshop. And so the first thing that we're going to be doing in this discussion is assessing where your group is at. Thinking about where is the group at now. Every single group is at different places. Different groups have different problems. They have different things happening within the group. And so we want to take a moment to just pause and just think, where is the current status of our group right now? So here's some questions that you can be thinking about in this portion is, who is in my group right now? Start writing down every single person that consistently shows up. And then on another block, you can actually put some of the infrequent people that's in the group still, but they haven't joined consistently. So write down everyone you would consider to be on the roster, and then start thinking about what are some of the next steps that the group members have already been taken. And where do they need to take their next step? So maybe it's growth track, maybe it's starting the one-to-one, maybe it's water baptism, or getting them serving, or attending other classes like discipleship track and so forth. And so we start to think, okay, what have they done so far? And what are some of the things that me as a leader, I have to lead them towards to keep growing in their faith. And so oftentimes I think this, Pastor Coach, is that we should just start settling for where people are at, right? And then if we're not constantly moving the ball, then people get stagnant in their faith.
I think we have to encourage people to take next steps. So by just taking time of reflection and finding out where they are, you cannot lead them to where they need to go if you don't know where they are.
Yeah, that's great.
It's
so good.
Important.
That's why every map at the mall always says, you are here. So we want to know where we're at as a small group so that we can take them there to the next step.
So good.
And then the last question is, who can be empowered to disciple others? Oftentimes we just bear on all the responsibility that's on me to follow up and follow through on every single person in the group. But we want to create moments and opportunities for other people to rise up in leadership. And so who could be another potential leader? We've always talked about that faith acronym: faithful, available, involved, teachable, and hungry. And so this is a moment for us to really reflect on who are potential people that could be activated more or empowered more to lead.
Yeah, sometimes we got to look beyond the surface, beyond just where they are and the potential, because we believe really every person is empowered to make a disciple.
That's so good.
So sometimes you have to frame the situation or the play for them and put them in it. And you can also work with them along that. But when you get other people discipling other people, then it's not just about building the group, but the group is building the
Pastor Coach is so good at this. He has the discipleship eye to see the gems in a person's heart and to activate that. And you have been excellent in doing that. And so what are some of the things that you saw in people that maybe can help us to see the potential in other leaders?
Yeah, I think sometimes just looking at their faithfulness and they have a heart for other people.
That's good.
They come into group is not what I'm getting out of group, but what I can actually give into group. When I see someone in that mindset, and you find it out when they're praying for each other, there's a real care, there's a shepherd heart. I feel like, there's something we can tap into there.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. And so it's an opportunity for us to start writing names down, writing down some of the things that they've already done. And then maybe we can start identifying 2 to 3 people who could grow into leadership roles. The next thing that we're going to transition into is rotating leadership. And we talked about this in our previous month's discussion guide, but we always want to refresh that we are having opportunities for other people to lead. So this rotation of leadership is great because it doesn't single out any person, and it gives everyone an opportunity to facilitate the conversation. So I tell everyone this: if you can read, you can facilitate, because that's what the discussion guide is for, right? And so having that rotation gives everyone an opportunity to see a person leading in action.
Yes.
And how have you seen that work
your
leading?
I think a lot of times is, the group shouldn't be leader-centric. It should be group or Christ-centric. So by giving them a chance, and you know what, someone gave you a chance.
That's right.
Give them a chance, and you'll be surprised, and people will rise up to the fact that they can actually do it. Then you're actually setting them up for future leadership.
And what makes that even better, and this is what we have to do, is as we're empowering other people to facilitate the conversation, we got to make sure that we do our part to give them feedback.
Yes.
And so give them the sandwich approach, what they did well, something that they can improve on. And
don't miss that.
And kind of like a blessing for them to continue to grow in leadership. And so oftentimes we empower people to do that, but we don't give them that feedback. And so they don't know how well they are. They don't know what they can improve on. And so those follow-up conversations is so necessary.
I've been guilty of, putting it off. And then you come back again to do the same thing. And sometimes they think they're doing a good job, but you have to bring that encouragement.
The best feedback that I've always given people as they're trying to lead is, you spoke too much.
Yeah.
Let's give everybody opportunity to share. And so my gem is always ask questions.
Yes.
The best facilitators are those who ask the best questions.
Art of asking questions.
Yeah, and I don't let anyone get out of that. Everyone in my group tells me that, you don't let us weasel out. Sometimes they try to make a joke to avoid the question. I was like, no, you're still going to answer this question.
Just keep nodding your head. Yeah.
And so here's some reflection point for us is this: who in my group is ready to take on more leadership? And what are some specific leadership tasks that I can delegate? What are some tasks that you found that you've delegated that has empowered people to grow, Pastor Coach?
In sometimes just sending out the text messages to the small group, and also if we prepare for things, you kind of delegate leadership, because you can do it, but you get other people to be part of that. And I think even when we're planning some outreaches, you let them get into the planning.
That's so good.
So it's not just Pastor Coach doing it all. It's actually getting other people involved. Yeah.
Yeah, so some next steps is assigning people some specific roles and giving them opportunities to maybe lead the next conversation or plan follow-up conversations or to send out the text message. So think about some of the practical next things that you could do in your small group. The next thing is forming clusters. This is the foundation for growth. And so one of the secret gems that people have said about ProSide Church is this portion of clustering. So explain more about that, Pastor Coach.
You know, the group gets big and you're having some leadership development. You have to you can cluster the group in the same place, because when it gets to 8 or 10, the conversation, the people on the end might not be involved with the people in the middle of the conversation. But when you go, you cluster, you're giving everybody a chance to be involved, but also raising up leaders.
Yeah, so that's good. Really, and so here's how it works. We want to start moving from inconsistent clusters to more consistent clusters. And so we just did this in our small group yesterday, is that we just wrote down every single person, and then I asked them, who do you feel most relationally connected to? Yeah. And so we started, it just started with 2 names. And so we decided that, okay, that's going to be the potential tripod for that cluster. Here's going to be the potential tripod for that cluster. And they took all the guys that I wanted for my cluster. But
that's usually what happens.
Right? But now we're going to just try to build off of that. Every single group, that's going to be the core, and then other people can be more of like a fluid, but we want to have that consistency there. And so when we have that, then we want to move towards consistency, and then the more consistent the cluster is, the greater the potential for that to be a eventual small group, right?
So I've been clustering in one of my groups, and now we established a tripod, and I'm just actually really looking to how we can actually branch them. Sometimes we have to, let them stay in the same area, but at some point we have to change location, change times.
So this is that pivotal season of just trial and error. You want to see who really relationally connects well, because that's going to be a bigger variable for how successful these clusters are going to be. So if the guys don't or the gals don't necessarily gel well, we need to maybe make some adjustments and move people around just to see how we can get some relational unity within the small group. So here's some reflections. Which members already connect naturally in the group, and what are some ideal clusters, and what would that look like? So you can just start jotting down some names. This is all fluid, but it's an opportunity for us to just really start to activate maybe, hey, let's try this week. Let's try this, and let's move this toward this in the next season. So number 4 is forming tripods in each cluster and branching the group. So this is where we're moving towards intentional multiplication. And so we don't want to just have clusters in one location. We actually want to do what you talked about, Pastor Coach. We want to start branching and multiplying our small groups.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And, it's a joy when you see other people rising up in leadership. They're giving opportunity. And when you see that, it's really, you're not just running the group by yourself, but now you have a group of leaders that are moving forward. Yeah.
And I've seen you do this not just with small groups. I've seen it with our current sites and locations. You had Moku, you had Liko in one, and now they're leading their own congregations, right? And so we see it happening on a bigger scale as well.
I think it happens in small group, and then from the small group is to the services. We do that. But it's a joy when you can see other people moving forward. So, sometimes we have the mother hen mindset. We want to gather everyone, and gathering is good, but we have to also release people. There's a joy when you do that as a leader.
Yeah, and so I love this. One of the practicals here is to set a date to formally branch. And so if you've been clustering consistently, you've been having some consistency within the clustering. Sometimes we have to make that hard decisions to be like, hey, in 6 months, we're going to formally call this a brand new group, and you're going to meet on a new day, at a new time, new location, and putting that, and it doesn't have to be in stone, but making a decision to make that the goal sometimes is something that we're resistant to, right, Pastor Coach?
Yeah, and you see 2 sets of guys, like they're ready to go, and the other ones are insecure. What are you doing? You're breaking up the group. But it's really for the sake of the harvest and the mission of really making room for new people. Yeah.
So, there's some reflection questions there, some practical next step. What does your group need to do to prepare for a group branch? And so it's basically a discussion and activation time. And at the end, we want to give everybody an opportunity to think, what are my next steps going to be from this discussion? And what support do I need from my coach or pastor to help me, empower me to do that? And so it's a great time for us to see what the needs are, for us to be honest and to learn from one another, because all of our groups are going to be in different seasons.
Right.
And we can learn from one another to help us to multiply our small groups so that we can empower more people into leadership.
Come on, that's what it's all about. And I think it's really what God called us as Pearlside Church is really a church that will multiply small groups, leaders, coaches, and then eventually will turn into sites and church plants.
Yeah, we want to encourage all of our leaders. I believe a few weeks ago, we had one of the highest turnouts in our small group attendance.
That's right. Yeah.
I can't remember what the exact number was, but I remember Pastor Billy Lau told us that we had the highest amount of people ever in the history of Pearlside in small groups. And so we want to ride this momentum.
Come on.
We don't want to get comfortable. We want to reach more people. We want to expand and give everyone an opportunity to be and experience the power of small groups. And so hopefully that you do a great job in leading these discussions this week. And if anything that you need prayer for, there's always your coach or your pastor that's going to be available to process and to help you in that. So have a great leadership group this week or this month. And God bless you, and have let's pray from belief for multiplication.
Come on. Yes.